Centuries ago, in the lap of mountains, a land was shaping, a nation was rising. The sky was the father, god of the land. The mother was the homeland of this newborn land. The sky was protecting the land from the wind, protecting the nation against the storm. And it was growing and rising, the roots were healthy and mature. The leaves were stretching towards the sky, towards the god. And the great tree of the land started to blossom. It was strong and sweet, and its scent unique. The tongue and the writings were sweet and powerful as the fruit that rose from the tree. The winds turned black when they saw the tree. They kept rising and rising, and were filled with hatred when they saw the fruit that kept growing and growing. And the winds attacked, slaughtered, and destroyed into pieces divine fruit in the branches, along with its leaves. The tree was left with just its trunk and roots, which grew upon warm soil, and the seeds of the sweet fruit were spread all over the world. Where is the phoenix of my dear nation, the bleeding fruit of my tree? It's you and I, and all the Armenians all over the world. We're the seeds of the sweet fruit. We're the tongue, we're the letters, we're the pride, and we are the blessings. We hear the sound of our aching blood and the sound of our motherland, the land that mourned in pain over its lost blood, and now pointing her arms towards God. She wants us to be united and wants us to admire, to keep close to our hearts, the immortal fruit almighty, so that the tree of the nation rejuvenates again, protects the Armenian fruit again. Oh, Armenian seeds all over the world, let's speak our language, let's write in our language, and let's raise our alphabet, so it illuminates our path never ending, towards moral strength and brighter future, for the sake of our fruit that defines our culture.
Բարև ձեզ հարգելի հեռուստադիտող, իմ անունս Դավիթ Գևորգյան է, Գլենդելի Հայդատի անձնախումբի անդամ։ Շնորհակալություն, որ այսօր մեզ հետ Paros հեռուստաց ժամն եք դիտում։ Այսօր եւ ինչպես անցած շաբաթ եւ հաջորդ շաբաթները, մինչեւ ապրիլի 7-ը Հայդատը ակտիվորեն մասնակցում է եւ աշխատանք է տանում տեղեկացնել մեր հայ համայնքին Գլենդելի մեջ Գլենդելի տարբեր ընտրությունների մասին։ Դա կլինի Գլենդելի խորհրդի անդամների ընտրությունը, Glendale School Board-ի անդամների, խորհրդի անդամների ընտրությունը եւ Glendale Community College-ի։ Հայդատը վերջի մի քանի ամիսները մեծ աշխատանք է տարել, ինտերվյուներ անցկացնելով, հարցաթերթիկներ ուղարկելով եւ տարբեր տեխնացուների հետ հանդիպելով, որպեսզի ամենալավագույն տեխնացուներին բացահայտել եւ աջակցել այս ապրիլի 7-ի ընտրություններին։ Հայդատը քաջալում է, որ բոլոր հայ համայնքի բնակիչները, հատկապես նրանք, որոնք որ արձանագրված են քվեարկելու, մասնակցեն ապրիլի 7-ին եւ տան իրենց ձայնը իօգուտ Հայդատի Glendale chapter-ի endorse արած տեխնացուների օգտին։ Այսօր մեր հյուրերն են Glendale City Council-ի, Glendale քաղաքապետարանի խորհրդի անդամի ներկա խորհրդի անդամ Paula Devine-ը, որը որ Glendale-ի խորհրդի տեխնացու է, եւ Jennifer Freemon-ը, որ տեխնացու է Glendale School District-ի տեխնացու։ Մենք Հայդատս փորձեցինք, որ ակտիվորեն ինֆորմացիա տարածել, տեղեկացնել հայ համայնքին եւ տալ այն կարևոր ինֆորմացիան, որի հիման վրա համայնքը կարող է ամենաճիշտ որոշումը կայացնել եւ ընտրել իրենց ներկայացուցիչներին։ Այսօրվա հաղորդումի նպատակներից մեկն է ծանոթացնել ձեզ Council member Paula Devine-ին եւ School Board-ի տեխնացու Jennifer Freemon-ին։ Հաղորդումը մեծամասնությունը կանցկացնենք անգլերենով եւ հիմա ես կուզենամ ծանոթացնել ձեզ եւ ասել շնորհակալություն Տիկին Paula Devine-ին, որ այսօր գտնում եմ մեզ հետ միասին այս զրույցին. Paula, good evening. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Thank you so much for being with us here today.
Well, thank you.
It's truly a pleasure to have you. Today's show, we'd like to inform the community about your candidacy to the Glendale City Council. And we have this wonderful opportunity to have you here, and we'd like to open up the discussion. I'd like to ask you a few questions that I believe the community would be interested in knowing about you, about some of the work that you've done, your qualifications, and also what would your priorities be for the next 4 years following your election on April 7th. So I'd like to open up the discussion, and thank you for being out. And if you could please kindly introduce us to the community.
Okay, well, first of all...
Introduce yourself to the community, I'm sorry.
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank you for having me on the show tonight to address the community. I have been very proud and honored to serve our community of Glendale for the last 7 months on the City Council. And I know that I have many Armenian Americans to thank for putting me there. I am particularly gratified this campaign because now the ANCA has endorsed me, and that is quite an accomplishment and an honor for me. And not only is the ANCA endorsing me, but Mayor Sinanian has endorsed me, City Treasurer Rafi Manoukian, and I even heard today from the Mayor of Montebello, Jack Hajinian. And so I'm really very, very gratified that the Armenian American community is embracing me and realizes that I am here for everyone, sitting on City Council, making decisions for the entire community. So I thank all of them.
Paula, during the last elections, it was for a single seat, and you were elected to serve as council member, City of Glendale, for 7 months. I believe part of why the ANCA has given its endorsement to you is because you have proven yourself to be an asset, an important part of the community, both for the Armenian American community in Glendale and for the entire community as a whole. And so the ANCA has given its endorsement, and several of the other elected officials have given their endorsement to you for your campaign. I would like to just ask you, Paul, in the last 7 months and prior to that as well, could you elaborate a little on your experience with the community, some projects that you have worked on, some of the things that have earned you to get the widespread support from the community that you have today?
Okay, well, I think it goes back even further than that to my background. I am a former teacher, coach, athletic director, and department chair. I have a master's degree in education administration, and I think that kind of allowed the community to trust me, but my community service has been invaluable. I served 8 years on the Commission on the Status of Women. I was
8 years.
8 years.
Wow,
3 years chair and 2 years vice chair, and I'm currently on the boards of Glendale Police Department and Foundation, the board of Glendale Healthy Kids, and also the Glendale Adventist Medical Center Advisory Board, and president of Seroptimist International. My collaboration...
And you serve on these boards, these community organizations, even now?
I do. How
do you manage to, as a council member?
There are a lot of balls in the air. It's tricky, but you know, if you keep busy, you stay young and you stay out of trouble. So that's what I'm doing. But my collaboration with the Armenian community, the Armenian American community, began when I was on the Commission on the Status of Women, and I began to work with the Armenian Relief Society and
the ARS,
and the ANC as well. And I just from the very beginning, these women are so amazing in how hard they work for not only the community locally, but globally. And so I have the utmost respect for all of them. And so that's been really, you know, and I volunteer at their winter festival. For 2 years in a row now, I've done the snow slide at the
I've been looking forward to participating in that.
It's fabulous. It's so much fun, and everyone is so nice and having a good time. So I've done that with them, and I've walked with them for sexual assault awareness. I've tried to help with them at with domestic violence awareness, and so I've worked a lot with the ARS and the ANC as well. So I think that's where my my collaboration with the Armenian American community comes from. And I have a funny story about my trip to Armenia.
Your trip to Armenia?
My trip to Armenia.
Was this
trip.
Recent or?
It was a couple years ago.
A couple of years ago?
Not very many people know about it.
We're going to have to hold on to that thought really briefly, because we're going to have to take a quick commercial break. But when we return, I'm definitely going to ask you to get into the details of that trip. Հարգելի հեռուստադիտող, կարճ դադարից հետո կվերադառնանք եւ կշարունակենք մեր թեման Council Member Paula Devine-ին, որ տեխնացու է Գլենդելի խորհրդի անդամին։ Բարև ձեզ հարգելի հեռուստադիտող, իմ անունս Դավիթ Գևորգյանն է, շարունակում ենք մեր զրույցը Council Member Paula Devine-ի հետ, որ տեխնացու է Գլենդելի խորհրդի անդամին։ Մինչև մեր թեման շարունակելը, ես ուզում եմ հիշեցնել, որ Գլենդելի քաղաքի, որը որ դա Գլենդելի քաղաքապետարանի խորհրդի անդամների, Գլենդելի դպրոցների խորհրդի անդամների եւ Glendale Community College-ի խորհրդի անդամների ընտրություններն են ապրիլի 7-ին եւ Հայդատը կոչ է անում ամբողջ համայնքին, որ ակտիվորեն գալ մասնակցել ընտրություններին, թե դա կլինի ապրիլի 7-ին քվեարկելու, թե դա կլինի absentee ballot-ի միջոցով քվեարկելու, բայց պարտադիր է, որ բոլոր մեր ամբողջ քաղաքական ուժը Glendale քաղաքի մեջ մեր համայնքը միաձայն կանգնած լինի միասին եւ քվեարկի Glendale-ի Հայդատի աջակցած endorse candidate-ների օգտին, որ այս տեխնացուներն են, որոնք որ կծառայեն ի օգուտ հայ համայնքին եւ ամբողջ Glendale-ի համայնքին մեր քաղաքը բարելավելու համար։ Glendale-ի Հայդատը endorse է արել Council Member Paula Devine-ին, School Board-ի candidate Jennifer Freeman-ին, որը որ մեր հաջորդ հյուրը կլինի այսօր, եւ բազմաթիվ տարբեր տեխնացուներին, որը որ մենք եկածող շաբաթների ընթացքում կներկայացնենք ձեզ, որպեսզի դուք էլ ավելի ծանոթ լինեք, թե ով են մեր տեխնացուները եւ ինչի համար ենք մենք տալիս մեր աջակցությունը եւ մեր support-ը իրենց տեխնացության համար։ Ես կուզենամ շարունակել մեր հաջելի զրույցը Council Member Paula Devine-ի հետ եւ մեր դաթարից առաջ ինքը մեկնաբանեց, որ ունեցել է մի շատ հետաքրքիր մի ժամանակ իր կյանքում, որ ինքը այցելել է գնացել է Հայաստան եւ իրեն խնդրեցի, որ մենք կարճ վերադարձից հետո մենք կարող ենք շարունակել խոսել դրա մասին եւ կուզենամ շարունակել այդ զրույցը. Paula, before we took the quick commercial break, you had mentioned about your trip to Armenia, and I've held on to that, and I'm very excited to hear about it. Could you please share with us what that experience was about, why you were there, and what kind of an impression it left you?
Okay. Well, we were on a trip to several countries, so we did stop in Armenia and toured Yerevan and all of the historic sites and religious sites. Yes, but the funny thing is, I have this affinity to the ARS, and so we're on the tour bus, and the tour director is giving us educating us about Armenia and how, and she was speaking about how true you are to your families and to those that live in the United States, and how they help all of those that are in Armenia, and so she starts telling everybody about the ARS. And I'm sitting there going...
And members of the ARS are not on the bus.
Oh, no. It's people from all over the United States. And she starts talking about the ARS and how wonderful they are. And I'm just kind of like bursting, because I'm so proud that they're actually telling everybody on our bus about this organization that I know so well and that I admire so much. And it just proved that the importance the importance of the ARS here and in
ARS,
Armenia.
Just to mention to some of our viewers, the ARS is the Armenian Relief Society. That is a very influential and effective, I should say, an effective organization that contributes and donates, I believe,
clothing. They're like the United States Red Cross. In,
right.
And here and in Armenia.
Correct. And the ARS, the Glendale chapter and the Western Region chapter is very, very active, and it has sent a significant amount of aid to Armenians around the world and in Armenia, and here in Glendale, where the Armenian community has one of its largest communities outside of Armenia. And it's actually very interesting. So they were talking about the work that the ARS does.
The ARS does, and I was so proud.
And what did you say?
I just said, I know these women. I said, I know these women, and I know how wonderful they are. And you are absolutely right in what you're saying, that they do support their families, their friends, and everyone. The other funny thing is our tour director, one of them, a lecturer on the trip, had slides of Armenian churches. And so he showed a couple of them on the during the lecture, and they were these real little small churches. And I said, I'm going to send you pictures from Glendale and Burbank of the beautiful cathedrals and churches that we have, the Armenian churches that we have in Glendale. So it was quite an experience that I just really felt that kind of at home, and that I kind of knew what they were talking about. So it was great. Yeah, it was a wonderful experience.
I can imagine it's left quite an impression on you. Paula, I'd like to ask you, with your understanding of the Armenian American community and having the experience that you do, serving as a council member for 7 months now, and you are seeking re-election, my question was, what are some of your priorities? What are some of the main issues that you would like to tackle? Because if you're re-elected, it's going to be for 4 years. Right. And I know that there's a number of issues that are coming about that the City Council is discussing, whether it's the districting issue, whether it's community projects like the Armenian Genocide Museum project, and which I believe you were involved in as well as a member of the City Council. What are some of your priorities that you would really want to focus on when you get elected?
Well, in the last 7 months, I've really been trying to focus a lot on pedestrian and cycling safety. And the police department is educating and enforcing, and the city departments are doing the engineering portion. The education by the police department is really fantastic. They've been going to the parks, to adult recreation centers, to hospitals, and teaching people about how the safety and how to cross streets. And I've just recently heard, we had some experiences where elderly Armenian residents had been killed. And I'm hearing now from
we actually hear that far too often.
Yes, I know. And
pedestrian safety was also a significant topic that the Armenian National Committee of America Glendale chapter tackled on very heavily with both the police department, the fire department, and council members. I believe you were there also at the youth center.
That was a very good program, and that was the beginning of this whole program that the police department is still holding these sessions. But the encouraging part of this is the fact that the clergy and the police are seeing progress, that they're actually seeing the elderly Armenian residents crossing streets, making eye contact with motorists, holding out their hands to make sure that the car stops. And so we are beginning to see a change in behavior.
In other words, we're not relying on the
motorist
acknowledging our presence there and knowing that they're supposed to stop.
Absolutely not. It's all about look to live, to make eye contact. So that's one. Now the Armenian Museum, that's something that is very exciting, I think, for Glendale. And as a member of the City Council, I was one of the members that approved the what is called an ENA. It's an exclusive negotiating agreement, and that's going to allow the committee, the Armenian Committee for this museum, to move forward in investigating and doing research for the project, doing outreach in the community, looking for architects, looking for funding. So I think this would be we have an opportunity here for a wonderful resource. It will help our college students, it will help our high school students, our elementary kids with an education component, and just be a great addition to our community. And I really look forward to seeing how that progresses in the next 4 years.
Paul, that's fantastic. Our time for this segment of our discussion has come to an end, unfortunately, and I want to thank you very much for being part of this discussion, for reaching out to the Armenian American community, for all the work that you have done. You have truly earned the endorsement of the Armenian National Committee of America. We've worked with you in the past, and we look forward to working with you after you are reelected to the Glendale City Council. And in closing, we have about 30 seconds for a closing statement, and I'd like to give the time, pass it on to you before we go on a short break and invite our next guest.
Okay. I would just like to thank the ANCA for endorsing me, and I urge all of you to make sure that you vote on April 7th. It's very important to make your voices heard. I'm listening, I will continue to listen, and I can be your voice on City Council. So I urge you to please, on April 7th, make your vote Devine, #1 on the ballot. Thank you.
Հարգելի հեռուստադիտողներ, կարճ դադարից հետո կվերադառնանք եւ կշարունակենք մեր հաղորդումը Jennifer Freemon-ի հետ, որը տեխնացու է Glendale Unified School District-ի խորհրդի անդամ։ Շնորհակալություն։ Բարև ձեզ, հարգելի հեռուստադիտող։ Իմ անունս Դավիթ Գևորգյան է, դուք նայում եք Paros հեռուստաժամը։ Շարունակում ենք այսօրվա մեր խոսակցությունը, մեր զրույցը մեր հաջորդ հայ դատի endorse արած candidate-ի հետ, Jennifer Freemon-ը, որը որ տեխնացու է Glendale School Board-ի խորհրդի անդամ։ Jennifer, thank you for having us. Thank you for being with us here today, and then being one of the school board candidates that the ANCA has given an open endorsement for, for being for having put your candidacy in and for being involved and engaged in the community. Having said that, I'd like to get right into the discussion about asking you about a little bit about your qualifications, your background, what makes you a prime candidate for being elected to Glendale School Board, and we'd also like to know what are some of the priorities that you have when getting elected to Glendale Unified School District. What are some of the issues that you want to tackle, and where are your priorities exactly with your candidacy and with the position of being a school board member? So I'll pass the floor on to you, and let's continue on our discussion with the upcoming April 7 elections that will take place in the city of Glendale for school board, for city council, and for Glendale Community College Board.
Okay, thank you. So my name's Jennifer Freemon. I started in the Glendale district actually as a teacher, and I taught at Toll Middle School and at Hoover High School, and was also a water polo and swim coach. And then, so I've had that experience in the district, and now I am a parent in the district, and I've been very involved in my children's school, and they're involved in a dual immersion program. So really—
How old are they?
They're in elementary school. So I have a 5th grader, a 3rd grader, and then my littlest will start kindergarten in the fall.
So there will be a point in time where you will actually have a kid who's in high school, but another one that's in junior high and in elementary.
Exactly.
So you're going to have your hands pretty full.
Hands full, but at the same time, a really good understanding of what's happening across the district, since I'm keeping this
That's right.
here. Yeah. So yeah, which is a great experience to have, to be a parent in the district and see things, because now I've seen them from a teacher side and an instruction, and what our decisions mean to the classroom, but now as a parent having that opportunity to see what those decisions, how they impact our kids themselves. So.
Well, what are some of the issues that you have been engaged in or involved in that specifically that has to do with whether it's the students or the parents, but it has to do with our school district?
Yeah. Well, two big things. One, as a teacher, I was very involved in programs to really get kids prepared and ready for college, and was very proud to be a part of that program. And then now as a parent, again, my kids are in the dual immersion program, which is a bilingual education program. And so I've been very involved in working with the district to make sure that those programs, if we're going to have them, have the resources they need so that they have the textbooks in the classrooms and all of those things. So I've been very involved in that area.
Now, is there a difference on those programs with regard to the region that school is in Glendale? Or is it pretty much the same all across the city, or do you see where there's a certain type of program that is available more in a certain part of the school district compared to another?
Yeah, so we have many languages in the district, and they have been placed in part by what that community would like to see, but also in part of by where that school could benefit from having such a program. So it's been a little bit of both.
And how do you see ways of improving that?
Well, I think a big piece is the district has done a really great job. We have wonderful, wonderful teachers in that program, but there's still a lot of work to be done to support these kids, because what we want, we don't want them just to be able to speak another language. That's not good enough. We want them to be able to speak and to read and to write and to understand the culture in that other language, so that when they graduate from high school, they could go to an American university, they could go to a university in one of those countries from that language that they have that level of education in that language and in that culture.
Well, it seems like this is, you envision this to be more of a kind of like a preparatory program, more than something that it's beneficial to the students now, but it almost seems like it prepares them for something.
Absolutely.
In the future.
I mean, absolutely.
Is that the vision?
That is the vision. I mean, the vision is to make these kids able to enter a global citizenship, not just be in the U.S. with English, but be able to travel and business and educate themselves in other parts of the world as well.
Well, speaking of vision, I would like to actually hold on to that thought really briefly. We're going to go to a short commercial break, and when we return, I would actually like to get a little more in depth on the vision that you have, and some of the issues that you believe exist in the school district, and ways that you believe that you would be able to help solve those problems if elected to Glendale Unified School District's school board. So we will take a short break, and we'll return with more with Jennifer Freemon. Thank you. Բարև ձեզ հարգելի հեռուստադիտող, դուք նայում եք Paros հեռուստաժամը, ես Դավիթ Գևորգյան եմ, Glendale-ի Հայդատի անձնախումբի անդամ։ Այսօր շարունակում ենք մեր զրույցը Glendale Unified School District-ի խորհրդի անդամի տեխնացու Jennifer Freemon-ի հետ տարբեր հարցերի շուրջ, որ կապված է Glendale-ի դպրոցների, եւ ներկայացնում ենք իրեն որպես Հայդատի endorse եղած, open endorsement ստացած եւ support եղած տեխնացու, որը որ ինքը աշխատում է համայնքի հետ եւ ընտրապայքարի մեջ է եւ ապրիլի 7-ին ցանկանում է որ իր օկտին քվեարկել եւ դա կլինի ապրիլի 7-ի ընտրությունների համար, որը որ տեղի կունենան Glendale քաղաքում, Glendale-ի խորհրդի անդամների համար, Glendale Unified School District-ի խորհրդի անդամների համար եւ Glendale Community College-ի խորհրդի անդամների ընտրությունների համար։ Հայդատը կոչ է անում ամբողջ համայնքին, որ միաձայն մասնակցելով դուրս գանք եւ մասնակցենք այս ապրիլի 7-ի ընտրություններին։ Հայդատը շատ մանրակրկիտ աշխատանք է տարել, որպեսզի կարողանա բացահայտել եւ ներկայացնել մեր համայնքին ամենալավ տեխնացուներին, որը որ կաշխատեն ի օգուտ մեր համայնքին եւ ամբողջ Glendale-ի համայնքին, մեր քաղաքը բարելավելու համար։ Շարունակենք մեր զրույցը Jennifer Freemon-ի հետ եւ ես մի քանի հարցեր ունեի իրեն տալու, որ ես կարծում եմ, որ հեռուստադիտողներին եւ ընդհանուր համայնքին շատ կհետաքրքրի եւ շնորհակալություն եմ հայտնում ձեր ուշադրության համար։ Jennifer, we were speaking a little about your background and your qualifications before we took the break. I had a couple of specific questions to ask you, and you have received the open endorsement by the Armenian National Committee of America. That must show that you have a certain level of sensitivity to the Armenian American community in Glendale and within the school district of the Glendale Unified School District. First off, I want to know, I want to ask you about your sensitivity to Armenian parents, the needs or the special needs of Armenian American parents or Armenian students. But I would like to ask, what percentage of the school district is of Armenian American descent?
The last that I checked, it's pretty close to about a third of the district.
A third, right?
Yeah, give or take.
A third of the district, so that translates roughly to
about 9,000 kids.
9,000. Well, if 9,000 kids, then
a lot of parents.
That's a substantial amount of parents.
Yes.
Now, have you had the opportunity to work with parents generally, including Armenian American parents, through various groups or through?
Yes. So once, in a couple of ways. So when I was teaching, and I was telling you I was teaching in a college preparatory program at the middle school, and we were really
at Toll
Middle School, and it was called AVID, and we were targeting specifically kids whose parents hadn't gone to university in the United States. And so really walking the kids through and their parents through what that process was and what those parents needed to do. So we had a lot of very direct outreach with parents there. And then now as a parent, I've been very involved in the PTA, both at Franklin Elementary, where my kids are attending, as well as at the council level, which encompasses all 30 schools in the district, and have had the opportunity to work on projects that reach into every single school in the district, and pretty much we've tried to reach as many parents as we can in various projects through the PTA that I've been involved with.
So it seems like the Glendale Unified School District is not only in the business of running a school district, which is a very administrative task, but also you would think at the school district you educate children, but it almost seems like you're also educating parents or providing them with more guidance, or how does that AVID program help improve the experience for students as well as parents?
Well, we want our kids, when they graduate from high school, to be prepared for what's next. And the family is a big part of that, and that family education, so that the families also know what are the options, what is the difference between Glendale Community College and UCLA, what's the difference between a private and a public university. And so there is a lot.
And not just financially what the difference is.
No,
right?
not just financially, but program, but also financially of how do we fund college in the United States? What is the process for getting into schools? Because again, some of our parents, we have wonderful parents in this district that care deeply about their children. And many are very highly educated, but many have been educated outside of the U.S. And it's a little different. You know, in each country that you go to, that system and that avenue for how you go from high school into college is a little different. So we really need to make sure that those parents, if at all, that those parents know what the options and how the kids get into college and how they fund college and how those applications work. So it's a huge piece of outreach that needs to be done always.
And it's something that needs to be continued, do you believe? Do you
Absolutely,
what's your vision on improving that?
So I would actually really like to see working with our PTAs and the district, but also our community groups that serve various groups in the city, to work on creating workshops where our parents would come and actually be able to sit down with the college applications and be able to see and have people walking them through, this is what the college application looks like. Having them walk through, this is what you need to look at your child's school schedule. Are they getting the classes they need? Because if they don't take the right classes, they're not going to get into college. the college that they choose. There are
college that they
options.
choose.
There are always options, but if they're trying to go for a UCLA or a four-year school, they need to have a specific list of classes taken care of, and so the parents need to know that so that they can help their children and assist in that. And so I would like to see us run workshops where we can teach and work with those parents one-on-one if we have to, so that they understand that process and can then support their kids.
And if you were elected to be a school board member, how would you increase the participation of the parents? You create a program, the school district supports it, everything is going well, the program is set, it's in place, it's being implemented, but how would you be able to bring or increase the participation from the parent side into the program?
Well, and that's where community partnerships are so important, and that's where we really need to then make a very, very intentional partnership with, again, we start with PTAs, just because that is our parent group across the district, but we also have, again, several community groups in the city that we would need to reach out directly to and get them involved as well, so that they could then also reach out to their constituents. Sometimes it's even a matter of standing at the school as parents are dropping their kids off and saying, you are the person that we're targeting. You are the person we want to see you come to this. And so it really does take just a lot of very intention. It's not enough to send out a letter.
Right.
It takes finding the people in the community that can make those calls for us. It's finding of ourselves actually talking one-on-one with as many people as we can, so that that word gets out, so people see it as something that's important that they need to be at.
Jennifer, so what you're explaining is that it's preparation for the future.
Yes.
Preparing our high school students. I'm probably assuming there would be a program to prepare middle school students for high school and the high school students for college.
Of course.
Okay, so it's not just from high school to college, because sometimes people just kind of fall out of line right after middle school into high school. But so it's college level preparation is something that is always discussed. And you said that there's several thousand students and even many more parents that I guess the school board members have to deal with, and the community groups and the organizations. There's many layers and many dynamics to this. So how would you be able to create leverage to be able to reach out to everybody when I'm assuming that there's far less counselors in ratio to how many students we have? That's always been kind of like an ongoing issue. Is that something that you believe we have enough counselors, or is does that area need improvement? What would be your recommendation or your vision regarding the ratio of counselors to students, or even the ratio to counselors to parents within the school district?
So many years ago, that counselors were the way that kids learned about college and filled out applications. Well, we're now in a situation, funding has been cut over the last several years so much that we're looking at one counselor, one high school counselor has nearly 700 kids that they're responsible for.
How many, I'm sorry?
Almost 700.
So
it can be,
it's 700 of what, I mean, 700?
So it's in that range.
I went to schools that had less students than that. I mean, 350 students. Clark Magnet had substantially a lot less students. Right around 300, 350, nowhere near 700 at the time, and then it grew. So there's a 700 to 1 ratio.
Well, and it's interesting you bring up Clark, because one of the things that I really would like to see us do is a better job of having our high school students prepared for what comes next. And when we look at Glendale and Hoover High School, which are bigger schools, they only have about 30% of their students that graduate from high school having completed those classes I was telling you that they need to complete to be able to even get into a four-year college. Where Clark, a much smaller environment, they're over 50%.
Right.
So class size matters. Size matters, and what we can do to bring those counselor ratios down, to bring those class sizes down, so that the teachers and the staff, they know those kids, they know who to make sure is on the college track. We need to do that. At the same time, the more we can engage their parents and bring the community in, the more adults on each child, the better. Because keeping an eye on them it's a good thing.
So you feel and you're confident that you would be able to bridge that gap and be able to get the community and the parents more engaged?
I do, and in a large part, again, both having that experience of a teacher and as a parent in the district, and kind of feeling like I understand and can speak the language of both sides. You know, I understand where the parent concerns are, and I understand what the teachers need, and I really think that I can be that bridge to bring those two sides together, yes.
Wonderful. Our time has expired, and we've come towards the end of our program. And I know it's very sudden, especially when having a wonderful conversation. Jennifer, I'd give you 30 seconds to make your closing statement, and so that we can bring our program to an end.
Yeah. Well, I hope you've seen tonight that I am running for school board because I am very passionate about public education. It is what I do, both as a teacher and as a parent. And I would love the experience of being on the school board and being able to help not only my kids and my little school, but all 27,000 students in this district. So I hope that you will help give me that opportunity by voting on April 7th. And I am the very last one on your ballot, Jennifer Freemon, and so you'll have to scroll all the way down. But thank you very much for this evening.
Wonderful. Հարգելի հեռուստադիտողներ, Գլենդելի հայդատի անձնախումբը աշխատանք տանելուց հետո ներկայացնում է Նայրի Նահապետյանին որպես հայդատի ANC endorse արած candidate Գլենդելի School Board-ի որպես տեխնացու եւ open endorsement Jennifer Freeman-ին եւ Վայք Սաթուրյանին։ Խնդրում եմ կապնվել հայդատի անձնախումբի խորհրդի անդամների հետ, զանգարեք մեր գրասենյակը, տեղեկություններ պահանջեք եւ հետաքրքրված եղեք եւ ակտիվորեն մասնակցեք ապրիլի 7-ի ընտրություններին, թե դա կլինի absentee ballot-ով, թե կլինի հենց գալ voting-ի կետերը եւ տալ ձեր քվեն իօքուտ հայդատի endorse արած տեխնացուներին։ Մենք ավարտեցինք մեր այսօրվա հաղորդումը, շնորհակալություն, դուք նայում եք Paros հեռուստաժամը։